I like it that Blue Jeans tells me, it's like, the recording has started. So we know. All right. So how does everyone feel? Is everyone exhausted? Yes, because I'm exhausted. And I did not have to. Oh, you see, there you go. That was a great use of the hell yeah paddle. Who is exhausted? Hell yeah. All right. So a little bit of logistics before we get started here. We're going to do a presentation order thanks to random.org. So it's all randomized. I just put all the team names in, and this is going to be the order of presentation. True value is going to be first. Fabric is second. Personalized itinerary is third. Know your guest is fourth. 4C is actually fifth. I was kind of hoping it would be fourth just for fun. And then Hotel Brain will be the last presentation. So each presentation has got about 5 minutes. Please try to stick close to it. I'm not going to be too strict, but if it starts going over about 7 minutes, I'll be kicking off the stage of sorts. And then there'll be about 5 minutes of Q&A for the judges. So feel free to take time with that and really encourage those questions. After that, the judges will go away and do their deliberations, again, according to the judging criteria that we shared throughout the day. And then we're going to hand out little Post-it notes for the Audience Choice Award. So everyone will have one vote who attended. Please don't vote for yourself. Vote for a different project that you think deserves the Audience Choice Award. And then when we come back, we will present that award and the judges' awards as well. So without further ado, first team, I already forgot what I said. True Value, come on up. Who's going to be presenting? Oh, and of course, you bring your own. Oh. Bring your. Oh. Yeah, take that. That's going to be that. Is that the other one for if they need two mics for? Yeah. Okay, cool, awesome. And we're turning this one on. Cool. Just make sure you keep the mic closer to your mouth, but don't eat it. Very important. Thanks for that. We're really quick. Let's have the judges introduce themselves real quick. That's a fantastic thing to have done beforehand. Lou, kick it off.
Sure. Lou Harasimu from IHG. I'm the Director of Distribution Strategy, focusing on connectivity.
Hello, Tina Wyand, Chief Product Officer here at HomeAway.
Hello, I'm Dominic Pinter. I'm working for SnapShot as VP Product.
I'm Sarah Foltz. I'm the Vice President of Distribution for MGM Resorts, and I'm also the President of HEDNA. I want to thank everybody for being here, and I want to invite everybody that's here. We're doing our opening reception tomorrow night at 5:30 at Mohawk, so everybody's invited to attend that.
Hello, we are True Value, and we're here to offer targeted guest loyalty recommendations for hotel managers to unlock the potential value out of their guests. So the problem with current hotel loyalty programs is they are very targeted at a small population. Their rewards usually take quite a long time, as you can see, 75 nights per year to attain. So they're ignoring a large chunk of the hotel guests. And unfortunately, this also makes it hard to identify new guests which are potentially high long-term value and turn them into elite clients. So, to no surprise, the hotel guest retention rates are very low. And this is significant because the difference between a one-time hotel guest and a lifetime client can be very significant. So we're going to dive into our solution to the problem. So under the existing system, we have a case study of 4 guests in this hotel. The existing loyalty system would target guest number 1 because he's a high spender and cater a lot of rewards to him. But this is a problem because, as we can see, if we dig a little deeper into this guest metrics, we see that guest number 2 is actually a very high potential value guest. His first stay was just over a month ago, but he has the makings of a frequent business traveler, even with just 2 stays. So our algorithm is designed to identify these 3 value metrics here and offer alerts to target retention for high potential clients, even new clients. So yeah, we'll go over how that works.
So we just designed a very quick web app here as Eric was mentioning, the guest value index is our key proposition here. The system kind of pulls various information from the public API, SnapShot, Expedia, and then there's a collector that gathers the data and then it crunches. And there's another system which actually crunches which runs on the background and calculates the guest value index. And then there's a jQuery-based UI which actually pulls up that the guest value index and provides a recommendation for a property or a hotel manager who logs in. So this is the UI where you actually initially saw the list of properties can be selected, and then for those properties you can actually see the loyalty rewards, target retention. These are different categories, and when you click on one, the property manager sees actually, okay, these are the guests. If you click on the retentions, you can see the list of guests and their guest value index, and he can actually select rewards and give them promotions to improve the guest experience. And finally, we also send all the logs for analysis and reporting to Splunk. That's our overview of our application.
Okay, so after we designed the demo and were able to go through the data and make an algorithm and work with the APIs, we decided on developing a user interface for the project and hotel managers. And some of the few key things we wanted to focus on was it being very easy and quick to use, as they have many responsibilities, and this is just one of them. So let's say that the hotel manager wanted to focus on retention and really find those high value customers or high potential value customers and get them to come back and incentivize them. So they're presented with this list of targeted retention people as well as their guest value index score based off of their data. And we're able to either select a few or select all of them. And you're presented with feedback to let you know, hey, you've selected all 23 people on this page. And if you're okay with that, then you're going to go select the rewards you want to send to these high value and high potential value customers. So then you can also select what you want to send to them, and it'll present to the customers a couple different options that they can choose among themselves. And then once you're sure you want to select all that you've selected for the rewards, you send the rewards and are notified with a confirmation that you have sent these rewards to 23 people. And for user control and freedom, there's an undo button just in case you change your mind. And that is the UI of this. Thank you.
So how do we make sure that this is actually an effective targeting advertisement? Or one way to do that is through a split test. So we have a big pool of hotel guests. we'll assemble two groups, Pool A and Pool B, that have similar characteristics, and we can send the targeted retention advertisements to one group and compare how they behave on their next day. So in this case, if we send a food and beverage discount to Group A, we see that they significantly have higher food and beverage spends on their next day. And so obviously we only had 36 hours to work on this hackathon, so there's a number of features and extensions that we would want to work on if we had a little more time.
Yeah, so this is a consumer level robot by Segway, and it's called the Lumo. And what's really cool about it is it has like an Android operating system. It has an Intel RealSense camera. It has object recognition. It has GPS and geolocation tracking. So like you can understand a lot more data about your consumers, and it could also offer a concierge service. It can recognize customers and give you intelligence around activities that are happening at that time.
And yeah, finally, we'd be happy to take any questions you might have.
So I just have a quick question in terms of the algorithm. Could you guys go over that? Oh, can you guys hear me? Can you guys go over the algorithm you put together in order to determine the guest value?
Yeah, so there's several components highlighted in tan here, or beige. We have a spend component, which is just based on the average spend of a guest per stay. We have the frequency, so how regularly is that guest coming into the hotel? And then we have what's called a future value, which is a combination of how active they've been recently and how loyal, like how frequently they have come to the hotel. And it's a mix, it's a sort of a dual factor score. And all these scores are from 0 to 100, with 100 being the highest. The scores, each of these scores helps us come up with a unique alert for which segments to target. So we have 3 alert types, one for loyalty, which is similar to the existing loyalty programs. These are the high spenders that you want to reward regularly. We have targeted retention, which is high potential customers that display the potential to become an elite customer, as well as targeted retention for big spenders or any sort of abnormal. So like the average spend helps us set a baseline for what we expect, but if we see higher than normal spend, that's a way that's an indication that we can target them for retention. If we see lower activity, we can re-engage them through our third alert.
Yeah, these are also the percentile value. It's not per guest. We take for a particular property, for a particular customer, we calculate the spend value and then compare it with the other guests in the same property. And then that's why we come up at a comparative number.
And it's refreshed every 24 hours to stay current.
Yes, so are you looking then just at the guests that are in the hotel at the time, or how are you thinking about sort of the history?
Yeah, so a hotel manager would have access to all the guests that have come into his hotel. So there's a huge database in SnapShot of every single guest at every single hotel, but the property manager can only have access to guests that have stayed there. The 3 types of alerts, the loyalty alert is more targeted towards guests checking in today. So that's like instant. If they check in, there's a surprise or a discount waiting for you upon check-in. The other alerts, the retention and the targeted retention and the re-engagement, are sort of activated right after a guest stays there. So you see, they suddenly spent a lot or are suddenly a high potential customer, then we'll alert them for an upcoming stay.
Okay, and just so in the graph that you showed at the end, where you're doing the full loop in terms of what's the payback for the loyalty program?
This?
Yep.
Yeah.
And so this is about increased spend during stay versus retention, this particular?
Yeah, so this particular instance is increased spend per stay. Retention is a little harder. It's like a little more longer term and play that you'll need to observe over a few years, right?
I have a question. You mentioned like at the end of the presentation that next step for you is machine learning. So does it mean that you see like opportunity to extend that algorithm? Because like what you presented right now seems to me quite straightforward. So like I don't see the, really the need for machine learning. So can you clarify that?
Yeah, sure. So yeah, as you said, right now we're just looking at the raw data, but only thing is we are constantly calculating it, so refreshing the value. But in future, we could take the value and actually we are predicting like, okay, this guest has a higher value, so we're giving him promotion. We could always look at the report and see actually what is the actual value that he spent, and then improve on the model.
So it would be basically like continuous improvement of how you calculate that index. So that would be basically that machine learning. Okay,
That's
okay, got it. And then if I may, one more question. So you mentioned at the beginning that was that like one of the goals is to or even here like improved guest experience, but like to me it seems more like that you are targeting the hotels really to increase their revenue. So like that primary goal is like for the hotels to get like more spending and loyalty to their brand versus like guests having more from the loyalty programs. Do I get that correctly?
So that's the initial pitches for hotel managers, obviously. I think we had some metrics here. I think we left it out just because there was already a lot going on here, but we have a few other breakdowns like food and beverage spend and other spend. Like if you're going to the spa, we can see that. And if we see that you like that experience, we'll offer personalized coupons and or discounts for a free drink or things like that. So that's like the basics of what we were thinking, but there's room for adding those features on later.
Yeah. But you're targeting like primarily hotels, so it's really
so
like
the users
B2B
would be hotel.
and increase the spend.
That's right, yeah.
Okay.
I have two questions not related. Was there another loyalty program that is the inspiration for this? And then the second is the robot. I don't quite connect the robot to most of your presentation.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering how you tie this together.
So I don't think there was like the fact that there wasn't a unique loyalty system for hotels was kind of like why we decided to do a guest value. The guest value is inspired, I guess, in part by SeatGeek. They have like a value index, but it's a completely different industry and not really geared towards rewards.
Can I just add, I think the robot's going to has a whole number of sensors in there, and it's going to give us a lot more intelligence about customers and their behavior and the activities that are happening all around the hotel. But as services that the hotel can offer their guests increase, like the robot will have that data and be able to provide it to guests as part of the experience real time. And I think that can add a lot of value over time to the score and the information that we have and how we base our algorithm and as to predicting their behaviors.
And sorry, follow-up question on the robot.
Yeah, sure.
So like, I mean, in today's world, like you have, for example, Wi-Fi in the hotel, which can track like pretty accurately like the guest. I mean, do you really see that like you need to, build complicated hardware like to, get these statistics? At least like from my perspective, there are already like cheaper ways how to get, a lot of intelligence.
Yeah, I mean, there's always cheaper ways to do it, but this is a fully integrated consumer level robot, right? It's already available product in the market, and it creates an experience that's very, very unique, and it can tell you a lot more information than a system that you set up specifically to detect certain things. So it can give you information about things that you don't anticipate.
Yeah, and I think that's something else that we can test if we could do a one-off pilot, and if it makes sense and returns, then we could go forward with it.
Okay.
So question in terms of the customer kind of loyalty. Are you looking at this from the perspective of a per hotel customer ranking? Are you looking at it across brand level, chain level? How are you making those determinations?
It would be sort of, I guess it would be for a hotel manager. So just looking at it either on an individual hotel or an individual chain basis, and all the guests that come through or are part of that hotel network.
So how do you account for the fact that the prices for a hotel are different from one city to another, depending? So the IHG one, there's different brands within the portfolio. So a cost of a stay bridge is different from Intercontinental.
Sure, yeah. So that I think is something we had through SnapShot list of about 20 hotels, but due to some data complications, we sort of focused on one. And I think as we expand our pool and consider different cities, different hotel brands, that's something we'll have to add on or add to the features.
Thanks, guys. Thank you. Great. Thank you, everybody. Jeff, you're up next. That sound is kind of funny. It's like the rocking chair. Which one, Tim? Actually, go with that one. You need another one right there.
I was planning on walk. I was gonna walk.
You can walk around. You're gonna work the stage.
Yeah.
And take the mobile mic, or you'll kind of have the Bob Barker look.
My name is Jeff. This is my third tnooz hackathon, and my second with my mother. So, Fabric Plus is real-time data at your fingertips. Allow me to present. Dominic? Okay. Real-time data at your fingertips. The Pierre Hotel is in New York City. It has 29 floors, and the 12th floor for the next 30 days has a higher occupancy rate than the 13th floor.
You knew that?
Yes. Does anybody know how I knew that? Okay, so I'll explain in a second, but the Pierre Hotel is using SnapShot, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so the Pierre Hotel also has a phone number that begins with 212. Can anybody tell me why? Or can anybody tell me why all Manhattan hotels begin with 212 in their phone number? It has to do with a rotary phone. Exactly. 212 is the area code for all New York City hotels because in the old days, 212 was the quickest way to dial the area code. Does anybody know what this is? It's a switchboard. So as recent as the 70s, there used to be a full-time person in most hotels who would stand in the basement, and when you picked up the phone, they would have to manually connect you. So what does that have anything to do with SnapShot? Does anybody know how I knew that the 13th floor of the Pierre Hotel had a lower occupancy rate than the 12th floor? Exactly, it doesn't exist. So it actually had nothing to do with SnapShot. That was a trick question. But the 13th floor does not exist. It was a superstition that carried over from the 19th century into present day. Okay. Does anybody know how the term rack rate is still carried over into present day? So anytime you hear the word rack rate, it originates from when there was no online travel agencies and there was a physical rack that would stand in the lobby of the hotel. But even today, most PMSs will use the term rack rate even though there's no physical rack. Okay, so what does this have anything to do with SnapShot? Well, hotel technology has evolved considerably over the past 10 years. OTAs are still a relatively new phenomenon. Hotel technology is a $29 billion industry, but it's still very old school in some ways. So Lou, you're using Oracle as most of your PMSs, right? Your CRS is Amadeus, and you're partially, and you're using Disco and Derbysoft, and you're doing Booking.com Direct, right? Right. So you can see there's a whole bunch of systems that come into play. So hotel technology is a $29 billion industry, half of which probably comes from Lou. So basically, but there's something missing on this. This is actually a snapshot chart. One of the things that's actually missing on this is chat applications. So for example, what chat application does your enterprise use to communicate with your staff? Skype for Business. So you guys actually use Skype for Business. Okay. I thought you used email. Okay.
It's not chat.
Okay. And so there's a big push now, and it's a very, very big underserved enterprise solution. You don't see a lot of enterprise chat solutions for hotels, and that's where Alice has come in. And obviously, it's very difficult if you're building a chat application specifically for the hotel industry, right? So if you were to do a go-to-market strategy and just build a chat application, you would get killed by Slack, by Intercom, by Yammer. But Snapshot does have an advantage. What is the one thing that Snapshot has that these guys don't? Hotel data, correct. So that is what Fabric is. So we'll do a live demonstration. Okay, so this is Fabric, and oops. What we're going to do is this is the channel for the staff to communicate with each other, and I'm going to do /OCC, and you'll see that immediately pulls up real-time data. It will pull up real-time data. Oh no. Wait, it was. Oh, okay, there it goes. Okay, so you can see there it pulls up the occupancy of today with a link out to a full chart. If I do /OCC 30 plus, it will pull the occupancy for the next 30 days. Tina, any guesses as to what command would pull up the occupancy from the previous 30 days? /OCC 30 minus. And so the idea of this is that if you think about the way hotel managers work, they're never behind a desk, right? These are guys that grew up in the hotel industry. They're service oriented. They like to walk around the floor in suits. And so they're always on their phone, right? Same thing with housekeepers. Housekeepers are now empowered, so they can do /cleaning, and that'll pull up a cleaning list. Pulled from the PMS as well. So the idea here is you're empowering your local staff at each hotel to have access to real-time data. They don't have to be behind a desk. They don't have to have administrative access into the PMS. It's data at your fingertips. And so there's a couple limitations on this. First is that there's no actual command for it's not actually responding. It's just polling every 10 seconds to listen for it. So that was the mini hack. But it's obviously something that could easily be put in. And there's also a 10-second delay as well, which is why it's not instantaneous. But basically, there's a few commands so that hotel managers can pull up the ADR and the revenue in real time, just like a Slack integration. And the hotel reception, for example, can view in the check-ins or the check-outs in real time. And that's it. Nothing complicated, just something very simple for hotels to use. That's it.
Question. So what is the advantage of using a tool like this instead of a dashboard that provides a lot of this information?
Sure. Well, if you think about it, a housekeeper, does she need a revenue dashboard? Does she need a list of the check-ins? She doesn't. She just needs access to the data that she needs. A receptionist, again, doesn't need any of that stuff. She doesn't need to see the housekeeping function. It's basically giving each segment of user within the hotel access to the data that they need specifically. I had hotels for many years, and we actually use Slack to run our properties.
So what are the security implications around that? Because you don't want the cleaning staff necessarily to check the RevPAR.
Right. So we had administrative user access. So obviously it's not built into here. It's built in the channels. But obviously, I would imagine that SnapShot Fabric is built so that housekeepers can only manage certain channels. Actually, yeah, it is in there with the user IDs. So for example, housekeepers would only be accessing the housekeeper channel. The reception staff would only be accessing the housekeeping staff. And you can build in the permissions for each channel. Right? You could probably have your own private chat with whatever it is that connectivity distributor managers talk about.
So then I guess one additional point on that is, why not have a page that has a login that has all the information they need as opposed to making them request specific information based on the login?
You know, that's actually really, really interesting that you pointed out. Okay, so back before I was working for this small Dutch startup that I work for now, I actually had a PMS startup, right? And when we would talk to hotels and we'd say, what do you want to see on your home screen? They would say exactly that. They would actually say, we want to see a dashboard with everything. But when we actually took the time to build that, none of them used it, right? They didn't want that. They wanted to go straight into the part that they used. There was an oversight that it was not actionable data. It was just noise to them. And so we found that we originally had, the sort of tile system, and nobody used that. They just would immediately drill down to the section that they cared about. We learned very, very, very quickly never to trust hotel owners' opinions in product builds.
Can you talk a little bit about the adoption of this and what would the pitch be? I mean, what is it that's going to yield some benefit, and what does that benefit look like that actually matters to the bottom line or top line?
Yeah, so from a product standpoint, it's very difficult for a hotel to adopt sort of your traditional chat functions. Slack, a lot of these programs, Yammer, they're enterprise level solutions for technology companies, and hotel owners and PMCs are not technology companies. So for them, it needs to be super, super simple, and it needs to be built for their specific use case. In this case, it's an integration with hotel technology. So there's a reason why most PMCs today, most hotels, are not using Slack or Intercom or Yammer. And there is a tremendous commercial opportunity for that.
So out of the hundreds of systems that power a hotel, you're pulling this data from the PMS. That's really what your focus is that data's coming out of the PMS?
Well, if you want to get technical, it's a raw text that's non-dynamic. But yeah, this would be pulled simply from the SnapShot API. So all the things that are in there, for example, the ADR, the RevPAR, the occupancy statistics, the list of reservations that have the hotel personal information, all that is actually in the SnapShot API.
And just the actual users, they would have to download a mobile app. That what does it look like for the user? Because part of the pitch is that they're on the go.
So allow me to tell you a little bit about SnapShot Fabric. It is a chat application that's available as a web-based application and Android, and coming soon to iOS.
Okay. All right. So the housekeepers or whoever, they would use their own phones, and then they would access it that way.
Correct. It would be an application specific to each segment. And this is something that we actually had our own mobile application for our own housekeeping staff. Mm-hmm. Even though they couldn't even speak English, but they were actually using the application when we had it. So this is something that we've seen that can be adopted.
So can you share with me the source code? Because I would be interested to put that into our product.
But it's all it's doing is just sending a dummy text file.
All right, cool. Thanks.
Thank you, Jeff. You're always greatly entertaining. I'm happy to have you always. And Jeff's mom. I wish my mom was here. That was weird. Next up is the personalized itinerary team. Where you guys are? Oh, there you are. What do you guys need? Okay, cool. I guess you do HDMI. That's easier.
Yeah.
Remember to keep in mind, we're going to do audience choice at the end of this these group of presentations. So get your votes ready.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Mona, and these are my group mates, Milind and Shrestha. We worked on creating a personalized itinerary, and let me take you through it. So a little about us. We are graduate students from UT Austin. My area of focus is user experience design, and they are from data analytics. And we wanted to work on guest experience mostly. And the APIs that we used are Fabric and Linkres. The problem that we wanted to tackle was increasing user engagement and attracting new customers. So that's the reason why our target users are mostly tourists. And keeping them in mind, we thought I actually thought of my experience when I was planning my trip to West Coast last summer. So I had 7 days in my hand. I had a limited budget. And I wanted to get the most out of my trip. So I went to TripAdvisor, I went to Yelp, I went to all kinds of websites like Thrillist and all that. So I did all my research and I read all the reviews and I had a huge amount of data and I wanted to do a lot, but I did not have that much time, that much money. So I was overwhelmed by that information and it was frustrating and time consuming. And I believe that that's something that a lot of users feel that day. I mean, today while planning your trip, a lot of users go through that frustration. So that's one of the pain points that we wanted to focus on. And another is that every time you plan your trip, you have a budget in mind, but no one really stays in that budget. You ultimately end up going beyond your budget. So that's something that a lot of users face today. So our solution was to create a system that integrates with any travel or any hotel website and provides a personalized itinerary that is not just based on customers' interest, but it also takes into account the services and the events or any amenities that are provided by the hotels in the city. This is how our system looks like right now. It gives their user a free itinerary, and it takes into account that a lot of users want to travel on an economic budget, and some people want to travel on a luxury budget. So that's what we took into account. And some of the other features that our system provides is that the customers get multiple personalized itineraries, and they're categorized into economic as well as luxury. And the hotel, we also provide hotel recommendations. So the items that are in their itineraries, the hotel recommendations will be from that. Like let's say I want to visit San Antonio and I want to go to a river walk, and that's there in my itinerary. So the hotel recommendations will be influenced by Riverwalk, and it'll be recommending me something that's near that place. Or if I want to have go for a spa service, so my itinerary will basically recommend me a spa service from a hotel nearby, and also give me that hotel recommendation on the website. So basically, a customer is not just given a full list of things to do while they plan a trip, but also a list of hotel recommendations which provide that services based on their interest. And lastly, On the website, the customers will know the availability of room, the services, and the events, and they can book that on the go. So let me take you through the prototype. So we thought of TripAdvisor. So if TripAdvisor plans and they want to integrate our website onto their website, so they'll have some kind of a button which takes you there. And the customer will get started. They'll fill out their information like destination, the number of days they're traveling, how many people are traveling, and also their airline information. And their interests like food or museum. Let's say they want to also go for spa services, so relaxing. And in this tab, you can see that they can actually choose from the places they really want to visit. Like if I go to Vegas, I want to go to Gordon Ramsay's restaurant. So I get a choice to do that. So that's definitely included in my itinerary. And if I don't know anything about the place, then the website will suggest me something. And then I'm selecting the restaurant and let's say a museum. And then finally, these are my itineraries. They are categorized according to economic and luxury. So there are 3 itineraries in economic and 3 in luxury. And people will be given access to like what would be an approximate budget for each of them. And they have the ability to compare it. So they can compare it. Like you can see all the itineraries are side by side, so it's easier for them to compare, and they can actually edit it, change, replace it with something else. If they don't want to go to a restaurant, they can actually choose museums or any outdoor activity, or just select another place that we suggested. And finally, they also can view the details of their itinerary and also edit here, remove everything. They also have a map view and a calendar view, which makes it easier for them to actually analyze how much time they would have to spend at each place also while traveling. And finally, they get hotel recommendations based on the things that are there in their itinerary. And on the go, you can actually book a room. It'll be there in your cart, and also select an itinerary. And whatever services are chargeable will be listed in your itinerary, and you can place the order. The order can go to the management, and you can instantly plan everything in one day without much time. So that's what we thought would be a great product that could be integrated with any hotel website or any traveling website. Yeah, that's it.
I'll let you know more about the APIs that we have involved. So we've used Linkers APIs to get to know more about the car rental systems that is available for you during the itinerary. So you can also book the car rentals on the go. So and also we can implement the Google APIs where you can plot out your chalk out your map wherever how frequently do you how often do you visit the places, and where and all you can explore new stuff. So you can use the car rentals and also the hotel APIs of Linkers. And we have used the snapshots Fabric API where after you place your order, we have implemented a system where it can send out messages to the hotel management where through the Fabric it communicates with the hotel management that they have received a confirmation of booking by so-and-so person. And later on, we also have implemented a chatbot which can also interact with the customer, where the management doesn't have to take into consideration that I have to personally chat with the customer. So the chatbot there is helpful where it can talk to the customer and figure out what solutions that he has to give to the customer. Also, if there is any delays from the hotel management side, the chatbot can send out messages to the customer that we are facing so-and-so problems. You can, we are updating you so-and-so, or the customer, if there's a flight delay, the customer also can send out messages to the chatbot that I have a flight delay of so-and-so, so can you push my appointments of the spa or the itinerary? Can you make any changes to that? So these are the APIs that we have used, and this is what the whole system looks like after the integration. Thank you.
What's the revenue? Where's the revenue coming from? Is it by, are you selling to the individual sites? Are you getting revenue based on bookings? Where's the, where are you kind of looking at from that perspective?
We thought that we would be selling it to hotel websites or a travel website like TripAdvisor. So it can be integrated into their website. So the suggestions or the itineraries would come in from their websites. If it is integrated on a hotel website, then the itinerary would be decided according to the services that's there in their hotel. So revenue-wise, we did not think much about the revenue because it was all about integration into the existing website.
It is basically used to attract customers so that they can plan out the itinerary as well as book the hotels. So it's a way of pushing their minds into booking the hotels as well.
So a number of the sites actually have personalization capabilities. What are you building on top of that?
The main thing.
Yeah. Sorry. So we actually did a little bit of research on what websites are actually doing this giving personalized services. So currently there are personalized services for frequent travelers who really don't have any time to book anything. So those services are actually providing them with messaging capabilities. They have their tickets whenever they want on an app, but there is nothing which actually personalizes your trip itinerary. So and on top of that, there's nothing that actually tells you about your budget and also takes into account your interests.
So question like on this personalization. So how exactly, like taking your example from the very beginning, that like I want to go to San Antonio and I want to like have some, I don't know, short hiking there or short walking trip. So how exactly like your system will tell me that, okay, I'm interested in walking. So from where I get the information, what's like nearby, or how does this personalization work? Like, is it something what is part of your service, or is it something what is coming then from TripAdvisor and
Yeah, this information comes from TripAdvisor or the services that already has this information, because if people don't use our website right now, in the start especially, we don't have any way of gathering that kind of information. So especially if we integrate it with websites that already has that customer base, so it'll be easier to actually provide correct information.
Okay, but then still, like, how does it work? Like, so I have, let's stick with that example. So then, like, you ask TripAdvisor, like, what is nearby the hotel, but how do you know, like, that you are looking for the things nearby the hotel? Like, is it determined by the distance, or, you know, how do I input the information in a way that actually you somehow automatically like do for me this customization? Like this part I kind of don't understand.
You want to expand?
Yeah. So if we talk about the location, there are multiple APIs that we can use. One of them is the Google Distance API. So using that API, you just have to tell, this is my current destination, this is where I'm starting from, and it gives you an entire like map. Like this is the first place that you should visit, this is the second place, and this is the third place. So using that API and using the interest that the customer will choose, we will tell the customer exactly what the route will be like. Like first go to this restaurant, then you can go to this place and then visit that.
Okay, so basically like the input will be from the user to say like, okay, I want to go here, and from there like this is my kind of route, and based on that you will basically say, and based on what I'm interested, you will basically say, okay, these are the places to visit.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Those are the inputs captured during the itinerary plan, what and all selected.
Okay.
Yeah, and it will give you the exact amount of time you'll be spending in the entire trip.
So your product has two components to it that seem pretty fundamental in terms of the user experience. One is the discovery piece, right? which is you're showing them recommendations and then they're taking actions on that. And the second part is actually having an itinerary that they can use kind of on the go. When you think about the problem to be solved and you have a finite set of resources, which of those two items would you prioritize? Because those are two very different problems to address.
That is true. The problem that I would want to prioritize would be actually creating the itinerary, because once it's there, because it's based on their own interest. Once it's out there, they can always go back and search for other items if they want to replace it. But the probability that it would actually be of their interest is more than actually going to a search page and searching for it. So that's where I'll concentrate.
Okay, thank you.
And one more thing that we had in mind when we actually thought of this was, let's take the example of a supermarket. So if I have a shopping list, I don't want to go to multiple stores and get that thing. I just want to go to one place, get everything that I want, and come back. So if some hotel, or let's say TripAdvisor, actually integrates this into their website, you will automatically attract a lot of customers, because no one wants to go to multiple sites and book a car, or go to another site to book a hotel and then another site to book a spa. So if you have that, if you have everything in one place, you will more people will be interested. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Up next, we're going to have Know Your Guest. If I had my Disney down, I would sing, but I'm not going to. Don't worry. Or maybe I should. I bet you can sing. Really? Surprised. Well, we all play fiddle in some band somewhere. Do you really play the fiddle, though? Wow. Good. Cool. And then you got that one. All right, know your guest.
Hello, everyone. Myself, Sonu Raj. This is my team. We'll be presenting the Know Your Guest. So we basically coming from a hotel technology company where we have a channel management solution. And typically, a hotel chain will have a set of guest profiles, but it will vary between each channel manager, based on each channel. But to have a global guest profile, that's what our aim is, so that it can be shared across multiple hotel chains, so that we can collect the preferences based on his previous stays, and we can do a machine learning algorithm to predict his future preferences are based on it. That can be marketed for our upcoming reservation, as well as when he stays at the hotel. Typical services can be offered based on his previous stays and preferences. So currently, what happens is when you do a booking and you have multiple reservations on your profile, and but to build a customer profile, you need to get the data from multiple travel agents, and we have 10,000 hotels in our channel manager, and based on the previous historical data of reservations, we are able to collect the reservation data and able to apply the machine learning algorithm. So these are the typical guest preferences which can be utilized. It can be a spa usage, a smoking preferences, short tickets, a golf used at the hotel, And so our algorithm it will be able to get this information, and then when a guest is searching for a particular hotel, it is able to predict what could be the best room type and what are the amenities he's able to use at the hotel.
So usually this will be the normal structure of data that the guest will be using. So what our idea is actually to take the data and then represent this data to each hotel that guest is going to book. It's like we can provide in advance the data to the hotel. Or another thing is like when we do the booking, so we will include this data like so these are the preferences, or these are the data that guests used in the previous stay. So these are the amenities they usually use. So this information we will be including along with the reservation data that is actually sending to the hotel. And then once the guest is checked in, so the advantage is like the hotel can actually give the preference like, okay, so we know that, okay, you are interested into this activity. So we have this activity. So that is just like improving the experience of the guest, and it is actually, in a way, it is actually improving the revenue of the hotel actually. So main challenge is like how do we get the data? Like so there are guests is going to in different locations and doing reservations. So the challenge is actually where we get the data. So first thing is like as Sonu said, like we have a set of reservation history data, so we can collect information from that data. And another option is like we will be giving an option to the hotel that you can review the guest when the guest is staying or when after the guest is checked out. So once it is like the advantage of hotel is like we know that reviewing is a bit difficult, but what we are providing is like when you review the guest, so you will be getting extra information that we will be providing you extra information for the future guests. So that is the advantage actually when you review the guest. So we will be getting the data and we will be sharing the data. So that is like a give and take for us. And guest review the hotel. And another option is like we will be exposing an API that it can automatically provide the information while guest check out. Maybe like what we are thinking is like a checkout list will be there. So maybe we can capture those information from the guest stay details. Another option, like maybe the future enhancement, like we can integrate with social media integrations, and like we can collect more interest from what are the interests of that particular person, and we can collect. So what makes this special? So this implementation, like it is an innovative approach. Like currently, as we said, like there is no system that can provide global guest references and collect that information and provide to the hotel. So we'll be providing that option, and it's a market opportunity. Like you can identify the guests and you can prioritize the guests. You will be selling more revenue systems to the guests, more revenue targeted services to the guests. So like it's always like when you know the guest in advance, maybe you can send out an email or saying that okay, these are the additional facilities we can provide. You are interested, so those type of information. And most important thing is like it will be always increase the user experience. So like if you are telling in advance that okay, you are interested into a particular area, and if you can like if he's having a disability or something, then you can say okay, you are providing that. Okay, we will be having room near to elevator. Okay, you can use that room. So those type of advices, those type of things will be always increase the user experience. Okay, so this is like an example, like when we go to the when we collect the data, so we analyze the data, and maybe this is another type of recommendation. Like we can recommend a guest saying that when he search a hotel or list of hotels, so we'll be saying that these are the list of offers, and maybe this is recommended for you. based on the facilities available or based on the preference of or guest facilities available in the hotel. And this is another method that when we send the reservation to the hotel, so we'll be including preferences, guest requests. So maybe he's king bed and non-smoking. So those information we can share to the hotel while we are doing like when the data is flowing through our system, so we can attach those information and we can send to the hotel.
This is the high-level architecture of our system. So we are collecting the data and keeping the data store, and then we are exposing our APIs through REST, and so that the channel, the OTA or these PMO/CR systems can integrate with our system and then get the preference data. So similarly, they can update the preference details based on the guest stay using the same APIs. We are using a Java-based machine learning tool called Vika. We have created a sample UI so that we can call our RESTful services behind the scenes. We already have created the guest profile, and the primary key or the uniquely identifying using the email address and the phone number. And this is how typically a hotel will be updating the guest preferences based on his stay and whether he has used minibar, spa, he has used the satellite TVs, paid TV, and laundry services. So each stay will add more and more details to our system so that our system can learn based on the huge volume of data, and it can predict the right details. This is how we can query based on a particular guest. This is the latest guest preference based on his historical data. Yeah, that's all. Thank you.
So based on all the guest history you have, populating it together, how do you differentiate between personas? If somebody's traveling on business, if somebody's traveling leisure, if somebody's bringing their family or not, how do you build that instance?
Yeah, so we have also considered this because based on the reservation data, we have this kind of information. If he's staying with the family, it's a family trip. If he's staying single, like in a business hotel, it's a business trip. So we can get this kind of information from the reservation data itself. And probably maybe he's a smoking guy, but if he stays with the family, it's cannot smoke. So his smoking, non-smoking also depend on the type of stay. So our algorithm you apply based on the type of stay also. Whether it's a leisure, it's a family.
How do you differentiate whether it's a leisure or business at the time of booking? So I know you had a site where you had a recommendation. How do you make that determination?
So each reservation will have a attached profile type. So the profile type is like whether it's a family type of stay. Like if he's having kids with the reservation is having children, that's a family. So if you say if there is only one guest, then it's like a business trip. And if the type of hotel is a business hotel, we can our algorithm can say that it is like a business trip.
I wanted to make sure I captured the innovative part correctly. So if I'm understanding you correctly, then this is a centralized global
preference
repository of hotel travelers worldwide.
Yeah, absolutely.
What are the considerations for the guests and their privacy?
Yeah, this is a good point. So we know that the guest has to share when he signs up with an OTA. There's an agreement. So with the consent of the OTA, if there is a clause that this can be shared with another company, then only the OTA can share it with us. So we'll be making sure that the data and the data privacy policies are ensured, and only based on the agreement with the OTA only, we'll be creating this repository.
Okay, and then what are the incentives for the really large hotel chains to participate?
The incentive is, as you know, that a large hotel chain will have details of only maybe the loyalty guest, but in this case, is able to get the entire guest details, not only their own loyal customers, because the guest may not be like brand agnostic.
Mm-hmm.
He can be like go to any brand, but these kind of stay details will be available from like multiple brands only.
Okay. Oh, and one last question, sorry. So on this screen, it looks like that there's quite a bit of manual entry for the guest review.
Yeah.
So this is the hotel manager or somebody who's like going through and...
Yeah, we want to automate this process, probably
Okay.
a checkout summary.
Okay.
We can parse that. So we plan to do that. But yeah, we want to avoid the manual interventions. That's why we want to automate everything.
Okay.
But currently there is no structured way to fetch the preference details from the hotel. So
just clarifying question to make sure I understand. So you're focusing on getting the data through the channel manager product, right?
correct.
So the channel manager product would only be booking indirect bookings. So how would you get these guest details for guests that are booking on my website or calling into my call center? How do you capture the data for direct bookings?
So this is one option is to share this information also via the API. We are exposing the API to push the guest preference and guest profile. So if a hotel wants to share this information and help us build the profile data, like a global profile data, if he is willing to share the information, he can push the preference and guest details to us using the API.
This review screen is actually not just for our booking. So this can be like the hotel can review any guest and automatically these details will be updated into our system.
So that's going to lead me into my next question. So we've got, right, putting my hotel hat on, I've got guest information in all kinds of systems everywhere and I don't have it centralized. So this would be, are you looking to make your system the central source? Would it replace my CRM? Or is my CRM, is your vision that my CRM would still be that main source of my guest data and you would just deposit into that?
Yeah, I think the CRM data will have a complete guest profile details. So we'll be storing minimum details of the guest just to identify the guest, and then we'll be storing all the preferences. So I don't think we will be able to replace the CRM of the hotel, but in a way that maybe we'll be having a list of multiple CRM systems and store the main preferences in our system.
So I would have a question regarding to legal aspects of that, because one thing is that the hotel guests might give you some kind of like a consent that actually you can store the data, but how do you planning to fulfill like all the law requirements like in Middle East countries, in Russia, you know, like how, where do you want to store the data? Because like, you know, this is pretty regulated and you are planning to store like a lot of personal information.
Yeah, that is always a challenge, you know, like when we go these options, that is always a challenge. But we expect that the world is changing and we'll be getting more opportunity that we can share more data. And that way, I think we can improve the guest experience and the hotel revenue. That is what we are thinking. I don't think that we can get all the, like we can get a confirmation from all the guests and then we can share the data. So there may be like, depends on the law, we need to apply that.
Okay, and then like, are you planning also like to scrape like publicly available data? Like because you had there mentioned that actually you want to take the data like from Facebook and stuff. So do I understand correctly that like part of the project will be like, getting data from different sources and then somehow like consolidate them?
Yeah.
Okay, and one last question. So is this focusing on just like one guest, or is your machine algorithm will work in the way that you will maybe look at the similar patterns like in different guests and their behavior, and then like based on that basically say, okay, so this guest is like, following this pattern, based on that he then ordered, these services, so like we should recommend these other guests which, are behaving similarly, like similar services. So is it like one guest only, or like, also looking at whole pool of guests which you have in the system?
I think our algorithm can be expanded to cater to any kind of requirements, because we are capturing the maybe the age information, so we can get the pattern of like the preference of a like particular age group also can be our algorithm can do that, process that also.
Okay, thank you.
So next up, we have the 4 C's. What are the 4 C? Predictive analytics for overbooking optimization. Are there really 4 C's in there? I want to know about this 4 C business.
Reminder to our presenters to keep the microphone close whenever you're talking.
Close, but don't eat it.
We're recording, so it'll capture voice.
Yeah, this one, all of them, or?
The whole.
Sure.
Yeah. Just make sure you're doing that one, or if that's where you can also use that one if you feel better, whichever. Just,
yeah.
Let's see, not very tall, so fix that. All right, we are 4C, and this weekend we set out to tackle the challenge of overbooking in the hotel industry. And we've developed a solution that uses predictive analytics to give hotels confidence to aim for 100% occupancy. So this is our team. We've got Roy, who worked as a solution architect, Setu, Luis, Juliana, and Ravi, who worked as developers. And then I worked primarily on product and design, and my name is Sarah. So our team met on Friday at the happy hour, and on Saturday when we sat down and started to talk about the challenge in front of us with this hackathon, we began by looking at market research into what are some of the big challenges in the hospitality industry that we could tackle with the data that we have available, and also by interviewing Setu, who has experience working in a hotel front desk. And he brought up a challenge that many of us have experienced. How many of you ever been at a hotel and you've checked in maybe late at night after a delayed flight and the room wasn't available and you had to get walked to another property? Yep. Yeah. Right? This is a significant problem. So hotels use overbooking as a strategy in order to optimize revenue. And while this approach does increase profitability, it can cause problems for both hotels and travelers. And technology is a major barrier for revenue managers. Current technology systems do not always communicate well together, and they leave revenue managers in the dark when it comes to forecasting accurately how many reservations will be canceled. As a result, during periods of high or maybe unexpected demand, hotels end up overbooked, and front desk managers have to walk customers. Each year, approximately 1 million guests are walked, and we estimate that this costs the hotel industry $5 billion a year. So when a hotel is unable to accommodate a guest, they typically pay for a hotel room at another hotel, often last minute and at high rates. They also typically pay for transportation and meals, and they may compensate the guest with hotel points or cash or another way to try to make up for the bad customer experience. And hotels typically the front desk staff may spend as much as 3 or 4 hours on trying to solve this problem for each guest. So the labor cost adds up too. One hotel brand with 600 properties had 12,000 walks last year, and they estimate that this cost them $60 million. And this is in part because the impact goes way beyond the direct cost. When customers have a bad experience as a result of being walked, 78% say they are unlikely to stay at that specific hotel again, and 70% say they will not stay with that hotel brand again. So the impact goes way beyond the specific day. Plus, customers that have a bad experience share on social media. 64% say they'll leave a negative review on social media or on a review site like TripAdvisor. So we've developed a solution, a SnapShot web application for predictive analytics. 4C is a cloud-based application that analyzes historical occupancy data, variable room costs, and walk costs to forecast the optimal rate of overbooking. Our architecture is pretty straightforward. We have used the 3 APIs available in the SnapShot marketplace to pull data. We have a continuous data ingestion into our application, which uses Splunk to do data analysis and then pulls data into our front-end application. And then from our front-end application, we push data into Fabric to give notifications or that revenue managers or others could share with their team in order to accurately, get ready if there's going to be a situation where there's overbooking, or as the data showed us, to actually see how much opportunity there is to go ahead and try to increase bookings. So the value that this delivers to hotels is confidence to be able to book or create promotions to book more aggressively so you get closer to 100% occupancy. Our tool enables revenue managers to optimize revenue. It enables front desk and back office staff to be more efficient, and it enables hotels to create a better customer experience, which increases loyalty. So using the SnapShot marketplace, our strategy would be to begin with a $99 monthly subscription. Globally, there's 187,000 hotels, so if each of those hotels use this service, that would be $222 million a year of revenue. At this point, there's about 3,000 hotels on the SnapShot marketplace, which would generate $3.5 million in revenue if they all subscribe to this service, and we see significant potential for this application to grow as SnapShot grows. Looking forward at a roadmap, there's a couple of things that we'd like to do to extend this product. So the first would be to bring in additional data variables, developing the ability to input variables such as events and weather to our algorithm in order to more accurately calculate cost and opportunity. The second item on our roadmap is to create flexible views so hotels can view data by week, reservation type, loyalty status, and more. The third item on our roadmap was to incorporate with additional APIs, specifically Booking.com or Expedia, in order to more accurately forecast demand for similar properties in the area. And then the fourth would be to build on the machine learning that we're already using to optimize our forecast for all of these variables together. Now let's go ahead and do our demo. Hang on a sec, I gotta switch. 4 fingers and show. So. There we go. Okay, so we actually built the kind of MVP of this weekend. So when somebody in the SnapShot marketplace wants to go ahead and get started with our tool, they come to the initial start page and they can go ahead and log in. We integrated with SnapShot using the OAuth authentication. So this is already got it kind of pre-filled in for Kimberly Walker, and we log in. And when you get into the dashboard, you can see historical data on occupancy, on actual occupancy, and what the optimal occupancy would have been, or optimal booking rate would have been. And you can also see a forecast looking forward. So if you hover each of those, you can see the red line is 100% occupancy. The yellow line on top is based on all of the data, how many rooms the hotel should book, or what they should aim for as a target occupancy rate. And then the blue line is where they're actually at. And on the top, you see $104,000 or $101,000 of missed revenue. Those are the rooms that the hotel didn't book, looking back over or year to date, actually. So say you want to get a little bit more specific, you want to drill down and make this forecast a little bit more accurate. We've created a way for hotel revenue managers to come in and input some of the costs that are specific to their hotel. So they can estimate for a walk situation. They'd start by putting in the variable room costs. So what's the labor to clean a room? What are the amenities that go into a room and the cleaning supplies and laundry? and that generates the variable room cost. And then they can also put in figures around the walk cost. So what do they have to spend when they have this situation? Go ahead and submit that, and that will bring us to another screen where you get a little bit more detail on what is possible and more accurate predictions based on. And then the final, do you want to? Yeah, if you zoom in a little bit, you can see a little bit more. So over here we can see on the blue bars represent based on the room, the average daily rate of each room represents potential to generate revenue each day, and shows us when you hover over how many remaining bookings there are per day based on the optimal overbooking. So, and you can see what the revenue opportunity is for the next 30 days. And then based on all of this, our hotel revenue managers, sales managers can go ahead and share this information with their teams on Fabric. You click on Fabric, we got to then come over here to Fabric, and you can see just a moment ago that that notification passed through to Fabric, and the team can chat about what are they going to do to try to take advantage of that opportunity. Most of the data that we found looking backward, actually underbooking was the problem, but what we see is in situations where there is a weekend where it's going to be overbooked, this would also give the hotel the ability to anticipate that and go ahead and make alternative arrangements for customers. So we're 4C. Thank you very much. We look forward to your questions.
Guys, use the mic.
Okay.
Yeah, or pass it around. Just make sure you're on the mic. Okay,
sure.
So it's obviously great in terms of showing where the revenue loss is, but if in the majority of cases you have underbooking situations, how does that justify a $99 cost for the hotel?
Yeah, I think it depends. I mean, it's a $5 billion cost as a whole for the industry, so it probably is more relevant if you're talking about a hotel located close to an airport or in a major metropolitan area or in a region where there are events that significantly fluctuate kind of the demand for the property. I think, this is a tool that would help revenue managers make decisions on pricing and promotions in order to try to increase occupancy regardless. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, so I just want to add, so we did run this engine on a couple of real data properties from the SnapShot engine. Even though it's anonymized, I believe it's pretty accurate, but it's a small sample. So in this case, what we're showing is, you're right, it's underbooking, but we can't make that conclusion yet. We have to look at the wider sample. But as we know in the industry, overbooking is a consistent problem. But we're actually solving for both. That's why we show the optimum booking, which is higher than 100%. But we give them the right, optimum booking they should shoot for. In this particular case, yes, they are currently underbooking.
I have a clarifying question. I'm sorry if I missed this. Have any of you ever worked in a hotel? Okay. I was going to say, this is very similar. You're going down a revenue management system path, and if you didn't know that, I would be like, wow. So you understand what a revenue management system is? Yeah, okay.
Very much so, yes.
Yeah, okay, got it.
Can you talk a little bit about the overbooking target and the calculation, and like what are kind of the main variables that might cause it to be as high as you're showing here, or perhaps even on the red line for others?
Yeah, so the formula or algorithm that we developed to estimate that came from research out of the Cornell Hospitality School. And it's a formula that balances the relative cost of the overbooking. So in a situation where your overbooking cost is quite high, then our tool would recommend a more conservative approach. In a situation where the overbooking cost is lower, then our system would recommend a more aggressive approach. Where the innovation gets more interesting is when we would be able to bring in additional data like weather and events and use machine learning combined with that basic formula in order to make predictions that really aren't out there in the market now.
This is one point to add. You can look at the yellow line. This is the predicted optimized optimum bookings that we are recommending the hotel manager to go for and their staff. It's based on all the data Sarah mentioned. In addition to that, historical data from cancellations. This is really a big part of it.
Yeah.
So there's some machine learning going on there, but like Sarah mentioned, we want to add more data, like seasonal data, events, local events, things like that. Right now, we're based on historical data and future reservations that are currently in the PMS system.
Anything else? Great. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Last but not least, we have the hotel brain. There's also a Pinky in the Brain reference in there too somewhere, I promise. Does this is you guys, you're all set, right? You tested and everything? Alexa? Alexa, you in there?
She's mute right now.
Can I have 3 wishes? Do you need anything else? No, you're good, right? Cool. Either take this one or use this one if you're going to lean. All right, just keep up the mic. All right.
Point to her.
Oh, yeah.
This a little bit. Okay, this presentation is heavily based on live demo, so everything worked so far, so it will probably not work right now. So let's keep that in mind. Siri and Alexa are fighting to be your hotel butler. This is a recent news. This is to contextualize what this thing is. The idea is that these things are becoming very prevalent, and there's a lot of big industries that are investing a lot of money to get these things everywhere. Which makes an interesting case by itself. There is Alexa solutions for everything now. There is Google Home solutions for everything now. One of them that I see pitched a lot is stuff in the hotel room so that you can ask stuff for Alexa to say, can I get towels? Can I get a lot of stuff? This is good for the guest because it means you don't have to talk with a human being, which is always good. And it's also good for the hotel because it means that if you're getting something directly, it means less overburden on the front desk. There's a lot of benefits in this. But there's more stuff that this can do. So if you're a small hotel owner or if you have to hustle every day to get everything there, you're never on your desk. You need to go around, do everything. You have little time to get around everything that you need to do. So you have to sit in your desk, look at a dashboard, log into things, looking up stuff, figure out how to get access to the 35 dashboards of the things that you bought last year, which can be hard. So this is where Hotel Brain is. A way for you to get quick glances of what you need every time and all the time. So we want something smart but classy. And I'll let Hotel Brain introduce itself. Alexa, run Hotel Brain.
I am the brain for your hotel. I can look competitor rates, get analytics, and update rates. What can I help you with?
Suggestions.
There is a weather alert for next week. You might want to close the pool. Maybe you should do something nice for the guest. Give them some HomeAway umbrellas. Anything else?
What about my rates?
There is a hotel conference in town this week. Your rate is 180 and your competitors average 250. You might want to jack up the price to squeeze them. I can update the rate for you.
Update the rate.
What should the new rate be?
300.
Do you want to confirm the new rate at 300?
Yes.
Your new rate is set. Make it rain.
So the humor is there because I spent way too much time last night trying to make it work. When it finally did, she spoke way worse than this. So this is a good compromise. All of the stuff that she says here, it's completely possible. It's something that every revenue manager will give you. Competitor pricing is something that you can get from public APIs. You can scrape Booking.com, you can scrape Expedia, you can scrape those sites, get those informations. A lot of this stuff is stuff that if you manage a hotel, you are constantly looking for, because it's decisions that you are used to take. If you live in Orlando, you know that there's a hurricane coming, so you have to pack up all the stuff on the pool so that you don't get caught up by surprise, and you can set up a few things. So the idea is that you don't have to stop to look at stuff. Alexa will help you along the way, and you can just ask suggestions. And if you have like 5 minutes, 30 seconds, you can ask something and then get to results. Even to do more stuff. So I did the update to rate that involves connection to a channel manager, which is pretty all right. You can do that. It's pretty standard to do it. But there's more stuff you can do with a channel manager. So if I want to renovate my room, but I'm not sure if I can do this right now or if I should wait a little bit, this can help me too, because the guy that cleans the room is just here and he wants to start renovation and I need to answer him. So Alexa, ask Hotel Brain if I'm busy next week. Front word. Alexa, ask Hotel Brain how busy we are next week. Alexa, ask Hotel Brain about my occupation. Oops. Alexa, ask Hotel Brain about my occupancy.
According to SnapShot, your occupancy next week will be 60%. Nothing of notice is scheduled to happen in town until end of next month. Anything else?
Alexa, close room 10.
I am about to close room 10. Is that right?
Yes.
The room is now closed. Bye.
Okay, so some other quick actions that can be done. Stuff that honestly today you can do pretty easy if you go there in the PMS and do the stuff. The channel manager will update all the OTAs. But if you're running out in the hotel and the guy just came after you, you can just tell the hotel brain to do it and it will do. Why voice? We didn't have nice designers on our team, so we couldn't do nice interfaces. And one thing interesting about voice is that it's a low barrier of entry. So I learned that Alexa is very good at recognizing variations of stuff that you say. So she's pretty good at getting it right after you configure it properly. I didn't do for this last one. I trained the first demos more than this one. And this could be a good way for you to introduce complex subjects to partners that are not really that tech savvy. So they can get into those features more. They can ask the thing how the rates are going, and they can start to get more close to that. So it might be a good thing to lower the barrier of entry. And if you don't have a huge ton of features to support, maybe it's cheaper. So you can do a lower price for a voice-based solution, and then you can do a higher price if you're really looking into more complicated results. You can get all the endpoints that we would use to do all these things. They're all possible today. They're all being done in some way or another, not by voice. But you can add a lot more stuff. You could merge the weather information with predicted capacity. You have some places in the world have public information about the city expected flow of people. So in the city of Amsterdam, you expect that during the King's Day, you have a lot of people there. So stuff like that you don't be caught by surprise, but we can actually introduce knowledge with the responses so that help you to be a better host. The commercial version for voice is huge, according to the scientifically poll conducted by one person, which I asked anyone. Yeah, it's big according to estimates, but the estimates are still heavily relying on investment by other companies, and it still has the wow effect. So it might just be somewhat of a fad for some places, maybe not for others. But the fact that we went after these things to buy for ourselves this week was a good indication that these things might be useful for some stuff. Maybe not everything, but for some stuff. And that's Hotel Brain.
Great, thanks.
Yeah, so I would have a question related to Alexa. So you plan to package then Hotel Brain together with Alexa, or how does that part work?
What you can do is that the whole flow behind creating is this is called a SKU for Alexa, which would be apps for Alexa. Is that, but when you go to configure them, you're already doing in a way that you would launch it as a global skill. So I had to set up a server with certificates and do a lot of stuff to make it work. But the idea is that it's pretty easy to make this public, and Amazon is doing a pretty good effort in make it also so that you can monetize it. So you can do something very simple only with voice. But I think it would be nice if you had already have a product like a rate intelligence rate manager product, and you wanted to add that feature. You can do that pretty cheaply, because most of the stuff is just trying to understand how it works. And it can be done in 24 hours, apparently.
Yes, but you still basically assume that either the hotel has already like Alexa in the back office somewhere, right? Or you will like send that as a package together, right?
Yeah, there's two ways here. Either these things get very popular and it's expected to have a lot of places. They sell at Whole Foods. Or you can offer it, and it's a pretty low price, so that you can say to the hotel, hey, here's a gift now that you signed our product, and you can ask these things. It might make it a good impression, or it's a good gift or something to get it going.
My question is along kind of a similar lines, which is if let's say you got funding to do this, what would be your first customer? And like, how would you approach that?
There were probably better things to maybe do it. One thing is that we were talking about the cleaning services. It might be a good tool to have like close to the cleaning cart or on the cleaning cart. And instead of having a phone or something like that, we might add features so that the cleaning crew doesn't have to have an app or think about the stuff. They can just talk to the thing, and the thing will do its thing, which is a very low training process, because you just need to tell the person how to speak to it. It's smart enough to recognize some variations, so that might be one thing. And there's plenty of other opportunities that can be explored. This was most focused to be like an intelligence tool, but it can be used as operational tool pretty easily.
Yeah, so one additional question. So how difficult it would be to port Hotel Brain to other devices like this? Because there is this Apple Echo, there is like Siri, there is Cortana.
Siri would be not working right now because there's no integration with Siri. With Google Assistant, I'm not completely sure how is it possible, but it is possible to add stuff to it. Alexa is the easiest one because it's very focused on a simpler interaction model, which also make her maybe the less capable of those devices, because the Google Home is pretty smart because Google. So the other ones might catch up. Right now, for easiness of access, this would be a pretty good one.
Okay, so the plan would be that basically you start with Alexa, and then maybe you look at the ways how to integrate that with other systems like that, because like you mentioned, for example, this operational use case with like cleaning ladies and stuff, and probably they will have like some cheap Android device. So okay, cool, thanks.
Thank you very much, Hotel Brain.
I'm proud of you, Alexa. You worked.
Alexa didn't do so bad. So this concludes the service portion of our flight. We are now going to judge. And then in the meantime, while the judges are deliberating, the Post-it notes are, Abby's got them. So I'm going to put up a screen that just as a reminder, we don't have millions of options or 6 projects, but just so everyone knows. So what you're going to do is, or Abby, do you want to just give one per person? Maybe it's better, just so everyone have one, and then bring it back to Abby, and Abby will tabulate each of the projects. And until then, we'll be back in about, let's say, 20 minutes, and then we will move on from there. Any questions? Everyone good? Awesome. Thanks, everyone.